Welcome to the editorial for the second issue of the new journal, Digital Journalism. And I'd like to thank everyone who contacted me with such positive and helpful feedback about issue 1. This issue kicks off with Irish Chyi and Angela Lee's study of online news consumption, which sets out to disentangle some of the complexities of media use, a phrase which is too often but mistakenly assumed to be synonymous with popularity. However, given the availability of free online news offerings, it's clear that consumers do not always use what they prefer, and most are not willing to pay for what they use. Using the survey responses of 767 US internet users, this study identifies and analyses three distinct factors: preference, use, and paying intent, to develop a structural model linking them in order to explain online news consumption. I think this is an important essay which clarifies the too often overlapping uses and confusions of three distinct factors involved in internet news and usage. Next we have a think piece essay by John Pavlik, distinguished scholar, whose essay, Innovation and the Future of Journalism, argues that long-term success will depend on innovation guided by four principles: intelligence or research, a commitment to freedom of speech, a dedication to the pursuit of truth and accuracy, and ethics. Claudette Artwick examines more than 2,700 tweets from reporters at 51 US newspapers to analyse newspaper reporters' Twitter use within Kovacs and Rosensteel's Next Journalism framework, which calls for a shift away from journalism as product towards more of a service for citizens. Findings show the reporters engaging in a journalism of service while also adhering to conventions of product, evidenced by the significant number of reporters' links to their own newsroom content and by their heavy reliance on official sources. Tanja Aitamurto's terrific essay studies co-creation processes at Olivia, a woman's magazine in Finland with 150,000 readers. Using a range of innovative methods, including interviews with journalists and online co-creators, ethnography, diaries, fieldwork and observations, and email feedback from readers, Aitamurto concludes that co-creation created a strong feeling of ownership over the magazine amongst readers, but the end result was a disappointment for both journalists and readers due to the failed content integration process. The article makes a significant contribution to the study of open journalism and the digital future of magazines. Doreen Marchionni uses a case study of the Seattle Times 2010 Pulitzer Prize winning coverage of the killing of 4 sheriff's deputies to build on recent research to measure journalism as a conversation or co-created news between citizens and journalists. Pulitzer jurists singled out the coverage for its innovative use of web tools to enhance audience engagement. But Marchionni suggests that journalists also need to step from behind the veil of objectivity to discuss how they do what they do. Finally, Àgnes Gulyàs presents findings from almost 1,600 journalist responses to a survey distributed in the UK, Finland, Germany and Sweden to explore journalists' uses and attitudes towards social media in their day-to-day journalistic practice. She argues that journalists' uses of social media in their reporting vary widely, with UK journalists proving the most persuaded concerning the utility of social media. The issue concludes as usual with book reviews. I'm more than ever convinced that you really do need to read this journal if you want to be at the cutting edge of digital journalism studies. I'll be back in October, but for now, that's all there is.